Hi.
and Constance, Diane,
Hello.
and this is Maria Nadotti, who's translating my book on the gift in the heart of language into
Oh,
Italian.
wonderful.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
It's a big thing.
It is. It's long.
Yes, it's a big thing. It's because it's language, it's very regular. It's very important to get the right word.
Yeah.
Don't tell me. So tomorrow I wait for a title. Genevieve.
Okay.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't actually have a copy here of the book, but I have a copy of the
You have a digital.
ebook. Yeah.
Yes.
Have
Yes.
a digital copy, but it doesn't have it in it. So I'm going to have to just make up a title there for that.
Oh.
But it's been 5 years since I wrote it, so I don't even remember what I said there. So.
No, because if you wish, I can propose you a title, but
Yeah, you could if you want to, but I mean.
no. I prefer you to propose one, to find one. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'll
No,
think
I mean,
one if you have.
I do little things when I'm sure about the need of those little things.
Yeah.
In the bibliography or things like that, but not in the text.
Okay. Well, that's, you can always propose them, and then I might say no, but I can also, but I might say yes. So yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're waiting for the others to come. We usually have
Yes.
at least 10 or so people usually come. Sometimes there are lots more. And Diane, Diane is our tech person. And did you post the other recordings of the other sessions?
No, but I'm working on it.
Oh, okay.
It'll be rendering out this afternoon.
Oh, okay, great. And the first one, did you put that one up already or not?
I did, but I have to change the settings on it because it was private, not unlisted.
Okay.
June,
There's June!
Hey,
Great. Your computer is working, Joan.
Yeah, hello everybody.
hello.
Yay! Yay!
Where are you? Which parts of the world are you?
I'm in Chicago, right outside Chicago.
Okay.
I'm
Constance?
I'm in Boston.
And where are you, Maria?
I am in Lisbon, Portugal.
Oh, I love Portugal. It's such a wonderful country. I've been twice. Yeah, I really like it.
And now, because of the COVID-19, in Lisbon, there are only Portuguese people.
Ah, wonderful, huh?
The tourists
Yeah.
disappeared, vanished. So
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It is beautiful. Like Roma, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. A lot like Roma. But there are always people here. There's so many immigrants here already from years and years that it's very diverse, at least in the area where I am. Yeah. Anyway. So.
In which area are you, Genevieve?
I'm near San Giovanni.
Okay. And Leticia, where are you?
I'm in Southern California, in Los Angeles area.
Okay. I am very curious about space, physical places. Donna, where are you?
I am in Las Vegas, Nevada.
And Mary Claire?
I am also in Nevada. I'm in Cactus Springs, Nevada at the glorious temple of goddess spirituality dedicated to Sekhmet, founded by Genevieve,
Aha.
with the beautiful rose garden behind me. Oh, I don't think you can see it too well, but
Well.
the temple is the temple's up that way.
It's up yonder.
Okay.
Under. two women just went cackling gleefully up to the temple just a few minutes ago.
Good.
It's great.
Constance?
I'm in Portland, Oregon, very northwest of the United States.
Yes. And Diane?
Diane is in
I'm
this.
in Austin, Texas.
Also in Texas, okay. Good. Now I can imagine something.
That's great. Maria, are you from Lisbon?
No, I am Italian. I am totally
Oh!
Italian.
Okay.
Where
Totally.
where in Italy are you from?
I was born in Torino. I used to
Oh,
live in Milano, but then I started moving, and so I lived in New York for 12 years, then in Berlin, then a lot in Palestine, and now in Portugal.
wow.
So I don't know.
Wow. Everywhere. You've been everywhere.
No, not really everywhere, but some places. Yes. So, Genevieve, this group of people is mainly American?
Yeah, these are, but there are lots of others that come. We have different people come every time. Sometimes they're more, sometimes they're less, but they have been coming from lots of different places.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Usually we have Angela here from Colombia, and sometimes we have Lori, who's living now, she's American, but living in Kosovo.
Okay.
And yeah, so people come and go, but this is the first time it's been only people in America except for Jen. So this is different than usual.
Okay, every time it's different anyway. We started out with a whole lot of people, but then little by little we've been getting smaller. So anyway, so we always like to sort of check in and say what's going on with us and the coronavirus epoch, and sort of what our lives are like right now, and then we was saying an intention for the Om that we do, and then we do Om and Ma first, about 5 minutes of Om and then about 5 minutes of Ma. Then we say how we're doing after that, and then we end. So that's how it is. So does anybody want to talk about what their situation is now, what you're thinking, feeling, and doing?
I'm in the middle of moving.
Where are you moving to?
I'm moving out to the Sekhmet Temple. I have been graciously asked by Genevieve to be the resident priestess out there now.
Nice.
Since Candace Ross retired. So it's been a slow process because of the coronavirus, but this weekend is the final days of packing, and then the moving truck comes next week.
I loved being out there because at night you could see the temple, and then you could see the Milky Way. It was so beautiful.
Yes, I'm planning to organize meteorite watches this year. I'm trying to set those up to where people can come out and bring their lawn chairs and have a safe place to just hang out and watch the meteor showers rather
Mhm.
than just trying to pick a weird place in the desert. So
That's fantastic.
Oh, there's Laurie. Hi.
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 Welcome. We're just checking in and saying what we're doing and how we are and stuff.
Oh my God, I am so grateful to have all of you here right now. And I actually don't want to tell you much about what's happening because it's quite bad, and it would be I don't want to just give that. We're doing an but I would say that all of the fears about what the pandemic means for authoritarian governments consolidating dictatorships are happening right now in Albania, and we've just had a week of a terrible tragedy and great violence. And I've spent much of the last days getting people out of jail, and right now I'm gathering documents for the Helsinki Committee to launch human rights investigations against criminal abuses of power. So this chant is really important today for me because I am going to be asking the goddess to appear with some alternatives that can bring us peaceful resolutions. But also, because I don't want to just leave you with a bummer, I do have a friend that's connected to the Dalai Lama Institute. And so they are trying to organize a prayer, which if we could do this would be very cool. And there are some of the leaders of countries in the Balkans that the Dalai Lama Institute has had connections to. So if we can organize that, Jen, then I'm going to put a call out to you to invite everybody who does this chant to be part of the Dalai Lama Institute prayer, if we can organize it.
Okay, wonderful. Would you tell us, do you have any websites or something where we can find out more about what's going on?
I do, and you know what, I'll send them to the chat.
Okay.
So then that way they'll be in the chat, and I won't take up a lot of time. And I really don't want to take up a lot of time with the bummer because I'm this the chanting, it makes a big difference. And all week long I've been thinking, you know what? Just hold on. 3 more days, we're doing the chant. 2 more days, we're doing the chant. Okay, chants today. I'm fine.
Okay, well, good. We'll be
Okay.
doing it in a minute. Hi, Glynis.
Hi, Jen. Hi, Liliana. Hi, Glynis. Hi from San Marcos. You know, this week I've been doing a lot of gardening, which is wonderful. How I describe it is, you know, when you, I'm in an old house and there's a wire that comes across the outside of the house and it's wound around a piece of metal and it's stuck in the ground. That's our grounding wire, right? Everybody should do that. And for me, gardening is grounding, is sticking my fingers in the soil and grounding myself. Yeah. And so I've been doing a lot of gardening, and I have like this picture frame, these different picture frames that are kind of welded together, and I painted it and it's outside. And I decided to include art in it and to put flowers, pictures of flowers. And I looked at all the different masters and I decided that I had to include one of the masters. So Liliana, I took one of your paintings. It's a woman who's just surrounded by daisies. It's so beautiful. So just to let you know that in my heart and mind, you're an artistic master. And thank you so much for your work. I hadn't seen a lot of it lately, so it's so beautiful and inspiring. And if you all aren't familiar with Liliana's work, just, I guess, I don't know, Facebook her or something. I don't know but you know, look her up. It's so worth it. And I think it will always feed your heart to see that what I described to her is she's created an entire community of people. And I just thank you for that. You were in my world this week. So
Thank you, Glennis. I appreciate
I
that.
guess if I have an intention, it's that all of us can find art and beauty and joy right now, and find it everywhere we look, because it's there. You just have to see it. Thank you. I'm glad I'm here.
Thank you, Glennis.
Thank you.
Get a big hug.
Yeah. Ciao, Francesca.
Ciao Jen, ciao tutte, hi everyone.
Hi, Francesca.
Okay. Hi, I'm very happy to be here with you. Today is an important day because it's my mother's birthday.
Oh, okay.
She's 86. 86.
Wow.
And so today my sister came with her son and daughter, and after a long time we can have a time together, and it's good for my mother. And the interesting is that this is in the same day. Today my friend is a Muslim, and today is the last day of the Ramadan. So it's interesting, these things, that my mother's birthday and the last day, and this is the first time that we celebrate together, and I feel good for this.
Wonderful. Sounds great.
And I'd like to send my intention for the end of this disease, and for the art and beauty, as Glynis said before, because I feel that really art and beauty could help us to have another vision of the life and the hope to be different in a good way.
Thank you.
Thank you, Francesca.
Well, I think I'm thinking. In fact, I guess I know that this pandemic is a real chance to change the economy deeply and bring forth a gift economy. I'm not sure how exactly, but it is time to talk about it a lot. And so I'm trying to do that, and writing about it and thinking more about it and everything. So what's up for me in these weeks, let's say, or months, whatever.
Thank you, Jen. I'm Liliana, and one of the things that I thought from the meeting the other day, where Mary Claire was talking about these meetings that she went to about capitalism, and so I was thinking that if the world would not be patriarchal and it would actually be practicing the gift economy, we probably wouldn't be in this situation that we're at. I mean,
sure.
Even if the pandemic happened, it wouldn't be such a disaster that it is happening right now.
Right.
And so, anyway, my intention today is back to compassion. And I'm sorry I was late, but I was my mother is really having a crisis in Chile. She's completely lost her mind. So I have a brother and a sister there, and they're taking care of her, and they don't know what to do. And then they can't take her anywhere because of the COVID. So anyway, we're dealing with that. And but something is gonna change. And then her caretaker ended up being taken care to the doctor because her blood pressure, and she fainted. I mean, that's how difficult she has become. And then we hire a nurse to take care of her overnight, and the nurse ended up in the emergency. So it's like, we're like, it's just like, yeah, it's because her, you know, she throws herself on the floor. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's like completely mentally ill. And so we're like at a loss. And especially the three of us here, we're helping financially as much as we can. But my brother and sister in Chile are, we're all older, you know. My brother is 70, my sister is 71. And so I mean, it's hard for them anyway. I didn't mean to make this a venting session, but it's just really hard. And then it's hard to take her anywhere because we don't want her to catch the virus also. So anyway, it's difficult. But so my intention is to somehow restore her to peace and for her to get better somehow. But we'll find a solution. I'm sure we will. It's just going to take a few days. So anyway.
Thank you. Angela, welcome.
I am late again.
Hi, Angela.
Sorry. I thought you were, yeah. Liliana, I really think that, I mean, you know, we Latin people are very family geared. And,
yes.
And I.
We can't hear you.
I think we lost her connection.
Yeah.
We couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Ahora sí, ahora sí.
Ahora sí, yeah. No, I was saying to Liliana that I understand perfectly what she is saying and her worry. I mean, you know, I mean, here we believe very much in the extended family in Latin countries, and definitely, I mean, I can see you worry, and I am sure somehow, you know, you all would find a solution, but obviously being far away is very difficult and complicated.
Yeah, thank you. Sí, es muy difícil.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
I also had I have a sister, which Jen knows, who is 86, and she ended in the United States in the way to Spain where she lives, but she had to stay there, and she's staying in different houses. And obviously, you know, she's not an easy person. So after 2 months in my cousin's house, now she's gone to our half sister's house, but there she has dogs and cats and animals in the bed, and she's not happy. So we are again trying to find a way. Of course, she cannot go back to Spain. She cannot go anywhere, but you know, there she is. And here I am. I have a husband who is also nearly 80, and he's very well, and he's very well. You know Francois, of course, Jen, you know Francois, my husband. Yeah.
Yes.
But yesterday, with all these things of the hygiene and all these things that you have to do, he's a photographer, and he brought some paper from the United States, and the paper arrived, and of course the paper had to be in quarantine some time before we got it, but he was in great hurry, so he went there because of what you call it, hypochlorite, of chloride.
Yeah.
You call it hypochlorite. He went with a bottle of hypochlorite, and he poured this bottle all over him. So his shirt lost all the color, and then he had to go and have a shower because he really and truly did what Trump said, you know, get yourself a hypochlorite bath. But anyway, he's all right, and except that his shirt and his underwear were all completely lost color. So that is what I've been up to. Not very intellectual, but anyway. I said to him, you shouldn't follow, you know, Trump's guidelines, because I got that Trump said to some people that they should drink that. But you know, anyway,
No, no,
I
no, no.
said that
You can drink it.
completely disinfected.
Don't drink it. I think it can kill you if you drink it.
Whatever you do, don't listen to him.
That's really.
Well, I tried.
Okay, who else hasn't spoken? Let's
Well,
see.
I haven't, just because I got called away for a few minutes, so I muted myself, and so I'm kind of sad about that because I missed some of the sharing, and I always look forward to hearing what's happening for everyone. But it's probably good because I wanted to greet two of the women who had come down while I was on the previous call with Donna and Jen, and it was sort of lovely because they are both nurses, and they had stopped by here when I first got here in late March, and when things were just starting to kind of lock down. And so they were walking back towards their car, and I was just here on the porch, and they were just sharing their gratitude for this being such a magical place. And I said, oh, I happen to be on a call right now with Jen and with women from all over. And they said, well, please, Beth and Kate are their names. Donna, maybe you know them. But they were sharing about how their friend Teresa, who had been without a child and trying to get pregnant for years and years and years, and after an offering here had become pregnant, and talking about it being such a magical place. And then they were talking about how, you know, in this time of pandemic, you know, so they're frontline, you know, workers as nurses, and how this place for them symbolizes what a place of grounding and prayer for the restoration of where we go from here into new patterns of, you know, instead of back to normal, you know, this time of reevaluating kind of how did we get into this mess and how do we move forward. So they wanted me to share with all of you the gratitude for this place and what it represents and their experiences. And so I extend that to all of you. And so I guess that doubles as my check-in of just what an honor I feel it is to be here in this space that really is both symbolically and physically, because of where it stands, you know, with the bizarre nature of Las Vegas, you know, right there, and with the Nevada test site, and with the military, and yet on this Western, you know, Shoshone Nation. I mean, really the amazingly sacred confluence of what it means to be at the threshold, in between dimensions and cultures and paradigms at this time where Sekhmet is both, you know, destroyer and plague of what has been destroying us, and protector and healer. And so I'm constantly humbled by both the suffering that is all around and the promise of regeneration that is just beyond the horizon, and how to be both with the grief and the mourning, but the midwifing of the new. So it was sort of lovely that they came by right then and wanted me to share that. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Claire.
well, thank you.
It's Joan. I can go next.
It's good to see you.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you. I finally have a camera again. Well, I guess what's been on my mind is how I'm going to I mean, I don't know if I'm so used now to being home. I have a kind of agoraphobia. Being the kind of girl who was always out doing things. And for the last more than 2 months, I've been home and not going anywhere. And now I'm finding myself, I'm rather fearful to go out, because I'm not quite sure what's going on out there. So that's what I'm going to have to determine what's going on out there, and then decide how I'm going to start going out again. Which is, yeah, whoever thought I would have this problem, but, and it's a small problem, it's a very small problem compared to others, but that's kind of been what's on my mind this week, how to start going out again. And I would say my intention would just be to send love to everybody here who are dealing with all kinds of problems, both with the family and then on an international level, and then just love out to the world in general and to myself.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
I'll go. This week was the last week of school for my nieces and nephews. So we were discussing yesterday what we're going to do this summer, because normally in Texas being so warm, a lot of our summer activities are outdoors and swimming and water parks and that sort of thing. So I think it's going to be pretty different. But we're all healthy and safe and happy to be so. So we're going to, I don't know, we haven't decided what we're going to be doing. My little niece is maybe interested in learning to play chess, so maybe we'll try that. But I think my intention is to send support to everyone who's struggling in any way, because we're very fortunate and lucky that we have everything we need and nobody's gotten sick. So I want to send my support to everybody.
Thanks, Diane.
You're welcome.
I'll go next. I've been thinking about sovereignty and this notion of ownership. And in this time of COVID, you know, sort of expanding that idea, because if this is a time to examine our notions about how we shift from an exchange economy to a gift economy, the notion of ownership is just a moot point. And how do we embody and internalize this idea of personal sovereignty, which is a sense of personal responsibility? You know, what words could be used besides ownership to the land, you know, a relationship to the land, and this sense of interbeing. It always seems to be a stumbling block when there is a sense of my own, a sense of I, as opposed to a reality of an interconnected being, an interbeing, where the gift is understood to be allowing for the extension of the self to continue to thrive, not just myself, but the sense of sovereignty, that I have a place where I recognize that I am in relationship to the land and that I feel fully in stewardship with the land. And that responsibility, and not an obligation, but just a consciousness of a being moving through life. Anyways, those were my thoughts at 3 o'clock in the morning. So today, the intention that I have today is to feel in myself comfortable with this notion of interbeing, and not grasping onto a sense of ownership of what's my thought, as opposed to shared thoughts, my ideas as opposed to co-creating with others, and that we each feel this deep, I don't know if it's a bond, but the relationship that we have to one another, to experience the nuance of what it means for that interconnection to happen. And what am I willing to sacrifice for that? What am I attached to that I need to really let go of? I want to be able to at least have a glimpse of what that is, so that I can surrender to that larger, expansive place of possibility, to step into a place of co-created future. That was a lot of words, sorry.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Very hopeful.
Thank you.
That's a hard act to follow, Letitia. I am getting also that sense of being in community, and the best way I feel right now that I can be in community and help other people is by first making sure my oxygen mask is on and making sure that I'm taking care of myself and writing things down and planning things out. I'm have been planning art courses on the internet where I learn how to paint more and learn about color. And gardening, Glennis, I'm gardening. It's just, you know, my rose garden I planted a couple years ago, and now it's just incredible. I planted herbs and, you know, just taking care of myself and my mental health and my physical health so that I can, because I find that I had a friend yesterday, a young girl, come and just had to vent. And I need, you know, as an older person, as an elder, I have to be there. I feel like I have to set an example and be there for people so that they can, you know, just bounce off of me, you know, and instead of me unloading on them, they get to unload on me, you know. So my intention is to, you know, take care of myself so that I can take care of other people.
Thank you.
Thank you, Constance.
I want to say one more thing. I went to a restaurant to pick some food up yesterday and no one had on a mask.
Oh.
And I was immediately angry. And it occurred to me that I judged every single one of those people. Okay? And, you know, I talk about wanting to be more compassionate, and I had to catch myself because, you know, I talk about other people having a sense of responsibility, self-responsibility, and yet as soon as I believe that their decision imposes on me, my health, my life, I can't seem to find the compassion in me. And you know, I have to, I have to keep an eye on that. I really do. I just want to say that because I know that we're at a point right now where we are judging people very harshly because we don't feel that they're taking this as seriously as we are. And judging is still judging. I mean, we can say we're, you know, oh, well, that's a good judgment, but I don't necessarily believe that. And so I really, you know, I hope that I can learn to be more compassionate to people who don't see this as I do and aren't reacting to it in the way that I do. So I want to make sure and add that.
May I say something?
Yeah. Thank you, Dennis.
I am brand new, so I am not sure to fit exactly. But I wanted to tell you that since the story started, I had a very precise feeling of people, situations, things becoming more and more what they were. So good people became better people, bad people became worse people. And so what I have in mind in these days is how to break through, how to make possible. And in this sense, what Genevieve wrote is very useful for me. Because I know a lot of good people who are helping. giving time, money, sacrificing to help other people. But I also know that there is a fantastic, how can I say, project which is evil, pure evil of progress. There is something is taking place nowadays, technologically speaking, which was already there, but the COVID crisis made it possible on a very fast lane, very fast. For example, we are now together in a very intense way. I must admit that I am very close to you all, even if I don't know you. Mm-hmm. And still, something is taking place. Bodies are not there. So what is happening? This is what my intention is to figure out, obviously not by myself. It has to be discussed collectively. My intention is to find out what's going on. It was very interesting for me what Joan was telling a few minutes ago. She called it agoraphobia. You can't imagine how many people I know everywhere in the world who told me exactly the same thing. And me too. I don't desire to get out. I have no desire, so bodies are out of the question. Desires are at risk. So needs. That would be a very interesting point to touch. If desires are dead, actually killed, needs are there. And when I mention the word need, I don't refer only to the needs of the people who are starving, who will starve tomorrow. I speak about needs at large. So a few hours ago, I was thinking and discussing with a friend of mine, and she was asking me, what did you miss most in the past 2 months? And I replied, of course, I miss my children who are in Italy, I am in Portugal, but that's not the point. What I was missing, and what I am missing nowadays, is something which was not there before the tragedy, before COVID. So I have a very specific feeling that we miss something, not because of COVID, but before. So someone among you, I don't remember, who was mentioning this idea, the promise of regeneration, which is a fantastic concept. Well, I propose you to think about another concept, which is not a promise, but a threat of progress. I'm not nostalgic at all. I love progress, but I want to be able to discuss from the bottom with other people which progress, for whom, how, where, for how long, and so on. So it's not an intention, really. It's a proposal of work and exchange, both theoretical and pragmatical. So I'm not thinking about pure speculation. I need to think, but also to act, and not out of pure help, pure assistance, charity. No, not at all. Something else. That's it.
Thank you, Maria. I have to say to that I completely agree with the being agoraphobic idea. I feel exactly the same way. I don't want to go anywhere. I mean, the thought of being outside, I just feel like it just gets me like, I don't want to go. I was telling a friend, I said, you know what, when this is over, I'm probably going to be agoraphobic forever. I just don't want to go out.
Well, this also is kind of a reaction to what's going on out there. I mean, in the United States, it's a little scary. I mean, you know, we the Republicans made sure that we have open carry laws now, you know, where you can just, you know, carry around an AK-47 for what? To shoot the virus? I don't, you know, it's crazy. But so it seems that, and how to relate to those people that aren't wearing masks or carrying or whatever they're doing, you want to kind of not engage with that and create something different. And I think that tension between trying to understand what's going on out there, how am I supposed to relate to that, and how can I live so that I'm not driven crazy by them, because it's very distressing, and what kind of life I want that is separate from them, kind of, and makes me feel good. And this, you know, communion of women and trying to figure out what's going on and how do we create something different is a valuable conversation.
Can I add to that? A couple of weeks ago, but this is really the core, right? And if we figured this out, the explosions of violence that are erupting would be significantly less, right? And so a couple of weeks ago, Jen, we were talking about a related set of things. We were talking about needs. And I'm thinking today about how staying in, and what you were saying, Maria, about desire, right? Which is just brilliant and beautiful, because desire is so much manufactured by capitalism,
right?
You know, and then to be able to strip away what's been manufactured, these desires, and get to what actually are really needs, and then be able to actually reassess them. And I think, Mary Claire, I think it might have been you, I forget who it was, but somebody was talking about doing a resource mapping, like also to be able to shift the focus, not just on the need, because the need also really sort of locates us in the suffering, which, you know, we recognize is there, but we have plenitude. So Glynis, the way you were talking about beauty is all around us. And so we're having this horrible crisis in Albania, but the bees are coming back. Like, we have more bees now than ever. Right? So I was just reading today, some of my friends who keep bees, they're like, oh, this is a bee bonanza. I'm like, oh yes, the bees, thank God, bees. So to be able to think needs in relation to resources, right? Like how we at home too are resourced differently. And I don't know what that means exactly, but I do have a friend who's a city planner, and I was talking to him about this, and he showed me a really simple program. It's a GIS mapper. And we were experimenting with ways where we could just put pins in everybody's house that shows, here's a resource I have. And when we were thinking about resources, I mean, resources were super cool. At first you think things like, okay, blankets, pillows, food, right? But then it becomes, oh, you know, a garden is a resource, and a patio is a resource, and a yard with a fire pit, that's like a really important resource. And then it's like, okay, who's got the jacuzzi? So then I was just, I don't want to ramble, but then just to rethink desire. And what you made me think about is pleasure. right? So resources are also the pleasures that establish our relationship and our bonds. And so much of those pleasures are things that we've that we've, I don't know, lost, like deep pleasure of nature or deep pleasure of relation. I would say this weekly meeting is like one of my greatest pleasures in the week, right? So chasing around our desires, we've lost pleasure. And I just wanted to put that in relationship to need and also bring it back together with resources, because we have maybe a lot more resources than we've consciously articulated for ourselves. And that for me is kind of foundational to the gift economy.
A smile.
Lori.
I'd like to look at the big picture and understand what it has to do with our smaller pictures, but also what's happening worldwide. I watch Democracy Now! Even from here in Italy. And yesterday there was a program about India and about how the people, the rural people are starving, and they were, sent home from the cities and dying on the way because they don't have any. I mean, the whole thing is just absolutely horrible, and so many people are dying because not of coronavirus, but of starvation, because they've been moved from where they were having their needs satisfied by having tiny little jobs and things that they could do. So, I mean, so when you talk about need, I want to talk about their need as well as our own needs, and the desires have to do with consumerism, basically. So I really, and what I think of progress too. Progress is not progress. Technology is not, although it lets us talk to each other, and well, that's good, I think. I mean, it's a wonderful change, but anyway, I think the goddess has something else up her sleeve that's going to happen. I certainly hope that, because it's just too shocking to imagine what the worldwide consequences of this for so many people.
I mean, even within the United States, there's so many people out of work. And what's that going to translate to in 6 months from now?
Or sooner.
I mean, are we going to have food shortages? I mean, or not food shortages, but people who are actually hungry. And
really do.
Talking about resources, I immediately, was thinking, well, Kate Brown is our governor. She's a woman. Maybe I could go to her and say, Kate, what are you going to do if this happens? Have a prepared plan for, can I help in some way? Which is kind of ludicrous, but
sure.
No, it's not.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talk about women have to take leadership roles. It's like, Kate, what are we going to do if all of these people are hungry? We need to find out a local food source for milk, meat, grain, vegetables, fruits, and all the restaurants that are out of business, funnel the food to them so that they can cook and create food for people if there's food lines. I mean, if this is going to be a depression, there were food lines in the Depression. And if people aren't going to have money because they have no jobs, and we have to start thinking about this now, because if it's like the virus, if Trump would have done something in January, we wouldn't have been here. So if this we have to look forward and see if this is going to happen. We have to start getting those resource lines and connections now. So that's my panic statement.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's actually happening in Chile. You know, we're beginning to have riots because people are beginning to starve. So they send a bunch of soldiers to a part of the city in Santiago, which is the capital. And the area is called El Bosque, where people with very little resources live, and they're protesting because, and so the president, that is the richest person in Chile, he's a billionaire, and so he said he's going to send food. I mean, you know, I don't know how much or whatever, but these are all patch solutions because the problem is bigger than just sending a little piece of meat here and there. You know what I mean? There's like, the problem is huge. I mean, I think that there's been starvation for a long time. It's just that this has come to life more with the COVID, but it's pretty much happening, you know? Anyway, Jen, I've been thinking about your theme of the money, and I've been doing some sketches. I did do one hopeful sketch this week, but Diane, if you want to put it up, I just wanted to give some hope and sweetness.
That's
so
So I made him into a boy, which he could be a girl. It doesn't really matter. But it was just, I've seen a lot in the back, as you can see, a lot of weeds, because I've seen a lot of weeds from my house. And so I really love weeds. I think they're beautiful plants. I don't know who gave him the title of weeds, but to me, they're beautiful plants. And so I incorporated them. And then he's, you know, transformation and the flute playing. And anyway, but other than that, I've been sketching this. I have this idea about money, which I've addressed before in my drawings, like I showed the other day, is that I think that money has made us into clowns. So I'm going to be doing, because we become clowns, you know, to be able to, we have to do all these pirouetas, I don't know how you say this, we have to do all these maneuvers to get money. And so we're like clowns, you know, and so I've been thinking that I'm going to do a whole drawing where there is this clowns, you know, trying to grasp for money so they can survive, because basically that's what we're all doing. We're driven by this need of get the money, and so we do our maneuvers so we can feel in grace with whoever is gonna give us the money, whoever action we perform. So anyway, that's gonna be, but I just thought today I haven't finished it. I'm going to work on it, but I really do think that money has turned us into clowns, because we don't even have control of our own life. It's like, where am I going to get the money? That's the only thing that matters, you know? And so, and clowns are, I don't like clowns. I do these stupid movements and jokes, and, you know, and they're kind of tragic, really. And I think that's what we are.
it's freezing
Because of our need. Excuse me?
freezing. You're freezing. You're unless it's mine.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's hers.
No,
Yeah.
intermittently.
Anyway, that's all what I wanted to say.
Can you post that picture of the boy with the butterfly and flute?
Diane, I can't do it. It's Diane is doing it.
Oh, okay. So we can see it
It's
later.
all you, Diane.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
but I
Yeah, I
want
want to take a photo.
send me a picture, Liliana. Send me one on email.
Okay.
Beautiful.
I will.
I just want to jump in real quick, because I noticed that Maria just put us a note in the chat to say that she has to leave in a few minutes. So I'm sad that you don't get to be a part of our meditation, but I'm so glad you were here. And before you go, I just want to thank you for what you shared about this question, this inquiry about the theoretical and the practical. What do you miss most was something that wasn't even there. It is something that's pretty fundamental to this question for me that we've been talking about with needs and desires, and this time where we're seeing our accumulation and our excess because of capitalism and runaway growth. To me, it's made me realize more and more some of the Buddhist precepts about following desire back to original longing, and those things of longing that are the ecosystem of the mother-child and the family for belonging and for care. So I would love to revisit this discussion more, and I hope you join us again, because this question of stripping away what doesn't serve, and like Leticia was saying, the accumulation and the excess that has squeezed out the regenerative process. And so this question of what is true longing in service to life sustaining and thriving, where desire is part of the addiction process that doesn't connect us to our true needs of mattering and belonging, and those resources that are interpersonal, that are about community and interbeing. So anyway, I didn't mean to go on and on. I just wanted to catch you before you slipped away and to say thank you for what you shared. Yeah.
Yes, Maria, I also wanted to just say to you, I really appreciated your offering this question. This seems to me, going back to this idea that I was having at 3 o'clock in the morning about sovereignty, but this is
Why didn't you call me at 3? Why didn't you call me at 3 in the morning?
No. But the idea that here is this a deep awareness that something is missing, and perhaps it is this notion that in my communities of Filipinos in diaspora, we talk about re-indigenizing. We're very aware of the progression of Filipino people all over the planet, but we also have an awareness of our responsibility to an identity as a cultural connection to family and our motherland, our languages, and our culture, as well as where we are in this present moment. You know, to be present where we are, like you're in Portugal, I'm in the United States, to have a responsibility both to this land and feel that connection so that I can expand in my awareness in partnership with what's happening here as an invitation with my many collections along the way of my ancestors to inform and progress with progress, not meaning more so that I can just have more, but more of meeting needs of how the collective needs to move forward, not just for myself or my family, but as a wholeness. And I think it has been my experience that most people that I speak to really can't address what their primary place is in the world. And I think that's the deep loss. Mm-hmm. Wherever I am, no matter where I go, there I am. So how can I actually feel myself rooted wherever I am, not co-opting or appropriating, but having a real intimate relationship at a fundamental level. And to me, that's the field of possibility, because the elemental places, not just, I'm speaking of like, you know, composites from the basic elements that we build things, but in terms of potentialities of resources, the true emergent factors that are happening in people, creativity is just beginning to blossom, that wants to reach out, that needs to be met so that something else can happen. that would only happen if there was more than one. It can only happen in the presence of another, because there needs to be a reflection of that. Like, we don't know light unless there's darkness. So it feels esoteric in some ways because the language, again, going back to Genevieve's book, I think this particular time is a time where we can have the slow time to examine the words we choose and the deepest meaning that we can have to make those connections and to act the forms that we want to see in our government, you know, in our structures, in our garden. So I just want to thank you for that, Maria, and I look forward to you visiting with us again so we can have more of these conversations.
Thank you, Maria.
Ciao.
We're just, yeah,
Ciao.
we're going to do the Om now.
Ciao.
Ciao.
So shall we do the Om first for 5 minutes? And then we'll do Ma, and then we'll have a minute of silence, and there we are. And then we'll share again. Okay. Must it be? Anybody want to share?
My God, I have to say, I didn't know I had lost my breath until I got it back, which just happened. And when we started the mall, literally something physiologically, my body, it released in me. I couldn't actually make the sound. I was choking, and then I had to cough. And when I coughed, my sinuses just started releasing, and I didn't even know I was congested and without breath. And I can't breathe. God bless you. Goddess bless you all.
You too, love. Oh, hi, John.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you for your words.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jen. You know I love you.
I
Thank
love you.
Mariana.
Love you, Glennis. Bye, Jen.
Ciao, Glennis.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you.
Ciao,
Thank you.
everyone.
I have to go to bye to
Bye,
thank you to you.
Bye,
Ciao.
Francesca.
Liliana, I want to show you something.
Ah, there you go.
There's a picture of Liliana's.
In the same room.
Oh, wow.
And
Dennis.
oh, I have you everywhere in my home. There's
Glennis,
another
where are you? Where do you live?
I live in San Marcos.
Texas.
I'm between Austin and San Antonio.
Okay.
Halfway between Austin and San Antonio. And I know I have one more. I just moved it where I could see it better, and now I don't remember where I put it, but oh, I do.
You have so much artwork, Glennis.
I do. Liliana.
She's an artist.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Do you remember?
Let us see it better.
I guess that one and that one, how well they match.
Oh, yeah.
Remember those?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're all over my home. So yeah, call me.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Angela.
Bye.